You open your phone. The next Mars launch window is 26 months away. Your pulse quickens. For a moment, it feels like the most important deadline in the world. Later that day, you skim a report on the 2050 climate deadline. You feel nothing. The same brain that rushed with urgency for a dusty red planet goes silent for the world you actually live on. But the real reason is far stranger than you think. It is not about caring more for Mars. It is not about denial. Something ancient inside your skull warps time itself. A cognitive glitch makes a robotic rover feel like a screaming emergency. It turns the slow collapse of your atmosphere into a ghost story. Once you see it, you will understand why your species will almost certainly fund rockets over carbon cuts. Until the sky forces its hand. Start with a rocket. Earth and Mars orbit the sun at different speeds. Every 26 months, they align so the journey between them is shortest. If you miss that window, you wait 2 more years. Mission planners put giant countdowns on the news. Your brain sees a date. It sees a concrete opening that will close. Suddenly, the project has a finish line. Deadlines are nitroglycerin for your nervous system. You feel them in your chest. Now look at the climate. The worst damage is projected for around 2050. But 2050 is not a launch window. No rocket sits on a pad. No countdown clock hangs in the sky. The date is a number on a government PDF. It feels more like a suggestion than a cliff edge. Your brain treats it accordingly. In the 1970s, a researcher named George Ainsley discovered a quirk in how minds process time. He called it hyperbolic discounting. Your brain does not treat all future moments equally. It assigns tremendous weight to anything right now, little less weight to things in a week, dramatically less weight to things in a year, almost no weight at all to things decades away. The curve drops off a cliff in the first few months and then flattens. A reward next week excites you almost as much as a reward today. A reward in 20 years feels like nothing. Here is a test. Someone offers you $100 today, or $150 in a month. You might wait. Your brain still cares about next month. Now imagine the same offer with a twist. You collect in 10 years or 11 years. Suddenly the added year feels irrelevant. The two distant sums blur together. That is hyperbolic discounting at work. A behavioral economist named David Leibson later showed how this shapes real decisions. He calls it present bias. It means you will sacrifice your future well-being for a small treat right now. Your retirement account sits empty while you order another gadget. Your gym membership lapses while you rewatch a show. Your climate action stalls while you chase a Martian fantasy. Because the 26-month Mars window sits inside the steep part of your discount curve. 2 years away still feels real. You can picture the launch pad. You can almost smell the fuel. The 2050 climate horizon sits on the flat tail of the curve. 30 years feels like a fairy tale. Your brain lumps it with science fiction and retirement plans. It feels imaginary. This glitch comes from deep time. Your ancestors lived in a world of immediate threats. A predator a few steps away demanded every drop of your attention. A meal in hand was worth more than a promise of 10 meals next season. A drought could end your community, but the next rain was all that mattered today. Over thousands of generations, brains that seized short-term rewards survived. Brains that waited for far-off payoffs often starved. Evolution handed you a discount engine that saved you on the savannah. That same engine betrays you in a world of slow-motion apocalypses. Here is the sick twist. The hypervigilance that once kept you alive now fixates on a launch tower in Florida, while the carbon dioxide concentration ticks upward unheard. The 26-month clock makes Mars feel like a threat you can fight. A 30-year deadline makes climate breakdown feel like a rumor. Your brain confuses temporal proximity with actual importance. That confusion might cost you everything. Climate psychologists have been watching this mismatch for years. A researcher named Elke Weber at Princeton noticed something striking. People do not just weigh the odds when they evaluate risks. They weigh the distance into time. She calls it the finite pool of worry. You can only panic about so many things. Your mind prefers to panic about things with a clear deadline and a clear finish. Climate offers neither. It is open-ended. It is gradual. So it gets pushed to the back of the line. One study asked people to rate the urgency of climate action. When the benefits were framed as immediate, cleaner air now, lower bills this year, they supported policies. When the same benefits were framed as avoiding catastrophe in 2050, they shrugged. Your brain is a futures market that only trusts the next quarter. Now scan the world around you through this lens. You see billionaires pouring fortunes into spaceships while coastal cities draft evacuation plans. You see governments approving short-term fossil fuel projects because the next election is 2 years, not 30. You feel a thrill when a rocket lands upright. You feel a deep fatigue when a climate report drops. That split is not hypocrisy. It is not ignorance. It is the perfect mismatch between a Stone Age brain and a geological speed crisis. So, what does this predict? You will fund rockets before carbon cuts. You will celebrate a rover on a dead world while the world you depend on slowly chokes. The people who control budgets know this. They follow your eyes. They chase the urgency. They spend on the sprint that has a finish line. Mars gets the countdown. Earth gets the footnote. But here's what happens next. You need to hear this. The atmosphere does not care about your discount curve. The carbon dioxide level keeps rising whether you feel it or not. Every year of delay bakes in more damage. Eventually, the deadline you ignored will slide into the present. 2050 will become 2035, then 2028. At some point, the window for a stable climate will close. When it does, your brain will finally wake up. The danger will be close enough to touch, but by then, the launch window for Earth will already be behind you. That is the trap. History already ran this experiment. Look at the collapse of ancient societies. Historian Jared Diamond documented how the people of Easter Island kept cutting trees. Not because they were stupid, not because they wanted to destroy their home. They cut trees because the immediate prestige of a new stone statue outweighed the far-off consequences of deforestation. The last tree fell. They still believed the forest would last. Today, you are the islander. The statue is the rocket. The forest is the atmosphere. You feel the urgency of the next launch window in your chest. You feel nothing for 2050. That is not a moral failure. It is a psychological hijack. But naming the hijack is the beginning of resistance. Once you see that your brain treats time like a funhouse mirror, you can start to correct for the warping. You can ask whether a problem feels less important just because it sits farther away. You can reframe long deadlines as a series of short sprints. You can turn 2050 into the 2028 launch window, then the 2031 window, then the 2035 window. You can trick your own software. Because the truth is plain. Stabilizing this planet is also a launch window. It is just a window measured in decades, not months. And it is closing right now. While you watch rockets, while you swipe past headlines, while your brain tells you that tomorrow can wait. Next time you feel that rush for a red planet, next time the countdown clock makes your pulse jump, ask yourself a quiet question. What deadline is your brain ignoring right now? What countdown are you not hearing? Answer it. Because the real launch you cannot miss is the one happening beneath your feet. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel. A new story every week.